Welcome back to Yo BikeBeat. You hear it before you see it, that piercing, raspy two-stroke bark cutting through the trees. The kind of sound that makes your throttle hand twitch and your brain light up with memories of speed, dirt, and freedom. That sound belongs to the 2026 Yamaha YZ250X, and this year, it's more than just a carryover model. Yamaha has taken one of their most loved off-road bikes and fine-tuned it with real-world upgrades that make a noticeable difference where it matters most, on the trail. The YZ250X has always lived in a sweet spot between a high-strung motocross machine and a trail-capable enduro bike. It's based on the YZ250 motocrosser, sure, but with a whole lot of tweaks that make it a woods weapon. For 2026, Yamaha has leaned even further into the off-road side of its personality. The engine, suspension, and ergonomics all get subtle but significant updates, and while it still kicks over like it's 2005, what you get once it fires to life is anything but outdated. Let's start with the motor. It's still a 249 cubic centimeters liquid-cooled two-stroke with a reed valve induction system. The same basic architecture Yamaha's been refining for decades. But this year, it gets updated ignition mapping, a revised exhaust port, and new internal tuning that makes it smoother off the bottom and more controllable in the mid-range. What does that mean in real life? It means you can lug it a little more in the tight stuff. It means you're not constantly fighting wheel spin or clutching your way out of corners. And it still rips when you crack it wide open, but now that transition from bottom to top is a little less of a slap in the face and more of a seamless power surge. And let's not forget the 5-speed wide ratio gearbox. That transmission is one of the key things that separates the X from the YZ motocross version. First gear is nice and low for technical climbs, while fifth gear gives you enough stretch for fire roads and open terrain without screaming the engine. It's a box that works, especially now that Yamaha's smoothed out the power delivery to match it. As always, the YZ250X is a kickstart-only bike. That might be a deal-breaker for some riders in 2026, especially considering most modern off-road bikes now come standard with electric start. And yeah, it can be a pain if you stall out on a rocky off-camber slope. But in return, you get a lighter, simpler machine. No starter motor, no battery to fail, just pure mechanical grit. Kick, ride, repeat. It's old school, and for many, that's the appeal. Where the YZ250X really starts to shine is in the suspension department. Yamaha's continued partnership with KYB pays off once again. The 48mm KYB speed-sensitive system fork gets updated low-speed compression valving this year, giving it more sensitivity over trail chatter without sacrificing bottoming resistance. Out back, the KYB shock receives a revised rebound circuit to better control fast hits. The result is a bike that feels more planted over rough terrain while still keeping that signature YZ flickability. Ride it through fast, choppy whoops, and it stays composed. Throw it into tight trees, and it reacts instantly. Hop a log or drop off a ledge, and the suspension soaks it without protest. That's the magic of a well-balanced chassis paired with proper tuning. You don't think about the bike, it just does what you want. And it's not just about performance. The 2026 model also brings a refreshed ergonomic package. The seat is flatter and a little lower profile, making it easier to move fore and aft. The fuel tank is redesigned to slim down the midsection and improve knee grip. The airbox cover is now easier to remove for faster filter access. Even the radiator shrouds have been reshaped to reduce snag points when navigating tight brush or narrow single track. Another welcome change. Wider foot pegs that give better feel and support, especially when you're standing up for miles at a time. You'll also notice the new stock skid plate and frame guards, small additions that would have cost you aftermarket dollars last year. Yamaha's clearly listening to its riders, and the little touches go a long way when you're out in the backcountry with no cell signal and no room for mechanical errors. Braking performance is also improved. The front now runs a 270mm rotor paired with a refined Nissan caliper. The rear brake pedal has a slightly altered ratio to give better modulation without feeling vague. It's not motocross sharp, but that's intentional. On a trail bike, you want control, not just stopping power. The braking package here gives you just that. As for tires, you're getting Dunlop Geomax at 81s. They're good all-rounders, solid grip and hard pack and decent in loam, but let's be honest, most riders will swap these out based on their local terrain. Mud guys might go full knobby. Desert guys might go harder compound. But for out-of-the-box versatility, it's a smart OEM choice. So what's it like to actually ride the 2026 YZ250X? In a word, alive. It's not a passive machine. It demands your input and rewards it with instant feedback. Throttle response is razor-sharp. Clutch action is buttery. The chassis dances when you want it to and stays steady when you need it to. It's not a beginner bike, but it doesn't punish you the way some high-strung race bikes can. It encourages aggressive riding without biting back too hard. Of course, it's not perfect. We mentioned the lack of electric start, which some riders simply won't accept at this point. There's also no oil injection, meaning you're still mixing fuel the old-fashioned way, gas and oil in a can, just like the good old days. Some will love that. Others will see it as outdated. It's all about perspective. There's also no map switch, no traction control, no handlebar-mounted electronics of any kind. If you want modern features, you'll need to look toward the European brands or bolt on your own systems. But then again, that's kind of the Yamaha ethos. Keep it simple. Make it work. Let the rider decide what extras they actually need. Now let's talk about value. At a retail price of $8,199, the YZ250X undercuts many of its European rivals by a few $100 or more. And when you consider the legendary Yamaha reliability, the availability of parts, and the sheer fun factor, it's a strong argument. You're not paying for fancy electronics or bold claims. You're paying for a dialed-in machine that's ready to rip the moment you unload it from the truck. In a world where off-road bikes are getting heavier, more complex, and more expensive, the YZ250X stays true to its roots. It's a lightweight, bare-knuckle, trail-focused two-stroke with just enough refinement to stay competitive and just enough simplicity to keep the soul of riding alive. You feel every gear change. You hear every rev. You connect with the dirt in a way that's becoming rare in 2026. So who's this bike for? It's for the rider who wants to be involved. The kind of person who prefers mixing gas to scrolling through ride modes. The rider who doesn't mind kicking it to life, because they know that first bark of the engine makes it all worth it. It's for trail warriors, woods racers, GNCC lovers, and two-stroke diehards. If you like your bikes light, fast, and free of fluff, the 2026 YZ250X is built for you. And if you've never ridden a two-stroke in the woods, this might be the best way to start. Because while it's fast and responsive, it's also balanced and intuitive. It's not a scalpel like a 125, and it's not a freight train like a 450. It sits right in the middle, agile, powerful, and a hell of a lot of fun. Yamaha could have given up on two-strokes years ago. Many manufacturers did. But they didn't. They kept refining, kept listening, and now they've delivered a bike that honors the past while staying relevant in the present. The 2026 YZ250X doesn't try to be everything. It just tries to be one thing really, really well.